All right. Hi, designers. Welcome to today's podcast where I have Laura Dotolo from Clutch Made visiting us today again. And Laura, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Laura Dotolo from Clutch Made. I am the founder. We develop and make accessories right here in the garment district. We take it from development right through tech pack sourcing, design, right into production, sample making, make in the USA. So that's what we do.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm Anna Livermore from V.Mora. And Vmore is a company that helps launch fashion designers. We do one-on-one coaching. We do patterns, samples, anything that's sewn. We line you with manufacturers. If you're interested in reaching out and booking a 20-minute strategy, you can always do that at Anna, A-N-N-A, at V as in Victor, MORA.com. And then Laura, really quickly, how do we get in contact with you?
Oh, you can always get in touch with us through our website, clutchmade.com. You can just put in for a call or just send us your email address and fill out our form.
Great. Perfect. So now to the content. Today we're talking about the startup steps for being a professional entrepreneur.
Oh, and it's so important.
I know. How often do you meet someone that's like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, and you're like, what do you do? And then they give you this long spiel, and you're like, yeah, but what do you do? Like,
yeah. That's when I always tell them, get your elevator pitch together, because you have to have that elevator pitch of who am I and what do I do? Make it 1.5 sentences to 2 sentences, I always say, because then you can clearly explain yourself with the correct adjectives.
Exactly. So I have this term. I don't know where I got it, but I definitely didn't make it up, but it's called the wantrepreneur. Do you encounter the wantrepreneurs? Like, they want to be an entrepreneur. They'll call themselves an entrepreneur, but you can very quickly decipher between, like, do they have an actual company? And you want to come off, even if you don't have an actual company, if you haven't made any sales, there's ways that I can tell if you're a wantrepreneur or an entrepreneur. And we put together some tips today for that. But you're always going to be in a place of like where you want to be an entrepreneur and you're not quite there yet. But there's simple things that you can do to come off professional. That people will take you professional.
Definitely. And I think it's just making sure you align yourself with all the right things to at least appear and look like you're trying to get there. I always say fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
And I like this wantrepreneur thing that you're saying. But it's true. Just try and get yourself there, even if you're not quite sure what it looks like or sounds like or is like. At least you're making the efforts to get there.
And I think, too, being honest about that, being like, hey, I'm looking to start a company. This is what I want to do. Instead of using all of these, like, cool lingo words about what you are doing and want to do, and like trying to, like, it's almost like you're trying to confuse the person you're talking to by making it sound like you're way more successful than you are, when in reality you're like, I'm looking to start, bop, bop, bop. Exactly. So much easier. Because us as professionals that own companies and are trying to help, we're going to figure that out. We're going to figure out where you're at in your company eventually. So I think just being honest. And then, so that's the first tip that we have, is communication is so important. As a new entrepreneur, if you want to be taken professionally, you had some tips for them of like what they can do in order to be taken professionally. Yeah, definitely. So I always find my biggest pet peeve when I start working with a new client who is so excited, they want to be successful, they want to start making, is just them doing an MIA. So they're just not coming back and communicating. So I thought, I'm going to put a little list together of the ways you can start looking and communicating more like a professional. And I think the first thing is get your email together. Okay, get a signature together on your email, have your information there, set it up, and make sure it goes through with all your emails so you are starting that email communication. Right there you look professional, and we know what you're doing, and we know what your title is. Okay? And even responding to be like, hey, I'll take a look at this email and I'll get back to you by the end of the week. But going completely like ghosting is like, and a lot of the designers that I work with, it's like they don't want to, it's an uncomfortable conversation. You're talking about pricing, you're talking about timeline, they don't have the answers. But it's always better to communicate that than to just ghost it and avoid it, because it doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't. And you always can tell kind of maybe they're putting their head in the sand.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just hoping that somebody will ignore it. But, it's always good, like you said, send an email back and just say, you know what, I just need to look this over, think about it, I'll be back to you. Give a time frame.
Yeah.
A month, 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days. It's just super important to keep those channels open, because we take you more seriously when you take yourself more seriously.
Yeah.
And
I have a few designers. It's been like probably 10 years of going back and forth where like all of a sudden I'll hear from them, they really want to start and they have all these ideas, and I'm like, and then they ghost. And maybe a year later they come back. And maybe, and I'll see them at the trade shows. They're at every single trade show, and they want to sit and talk for an hour about the line. And, like, finally, I've had to tell some people, like, when you are actually ready to start, come back to me. Because at this point, I've given you a lot of time. We've talked a lot, but it seems like you've got more things to get in alignment before you're ready to actually jump in.
Right.
So at that point, please contact me.
Exactly. I mean, we've all gone through this same story, and I think it's really important that the more you're clear and honest with yourself about where you are in the stage in the game, and the more you tell us, then we can understand where you're at, what's going on, what might be your obstacles. Maybe we can help you work through them.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So the next point that we wanted to talk about of just like being a professional is knowing your budget and understanding your costs. And I know in the beginning, you don't know how much you're going to spend on a sample or a pattern or a production. I understand that, but at least having a number like how much are you able to spend comfortably? And then once you start spending money, tracking all of your expenses. And then once you're working with someone, like, do you help with budget, Laura?
Oh, yes. We work with our clients on budget.
Great.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes it's just us coming up with numbers so they can start digesting them.
Yeah.
Because I think going into it, sometimes you don't know how much things are going to cost, and you're waiting to find out what are these quotes I'm going to start getting so I can start getting into the game.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. I think it's important to cost out, to get different quotes from different manufacturers, from different consultants, whoever you're working with, just to kind of ballpark it and see where everyone's coming in at and why.
Yeah, and I think there's two reasons why this is really important. Number one is if you have designers want to, again, or creatives in general, they don't want to deal with money. They don't want to. They don't want to talk about it. They want to pretend like that it's unlimited, and the facts are it's not. And if you're out of money and you're not able to do a photo shoot for the production you just made, then everything's a wash. So it's so important to plan all the way through. And so it's empowering to say like, okay, I have $2,000 to spend on materials. So when I write that check for $500 for these snaps, like I can afford that because I budgeted it. So it's empowering and it will help you move forward. And then number two is eventually you might have investors, whether it's family members or friends or anyone that is interested in investing in your company. And if you don't know your numbers, they're not going to take you seriously. I don't even care if it's your dad, if it's your husband. If they're willing to give you money, you need to show that you have control over it and you have a plan for it.
Oh, this is so true. I always encourage my clients from the start. One of the first things I always tell them is get a business account at the bank and start keeping track of your expenses. The more you become familiar with what you're spending, how to write off, how to handle your money, the better off you're going to be.
Yep.
It's the most important thing, and it will follow you through your business.
Yeah.
So if you're not in touch with that and learn how to get in touch with that, I hate to say it, but I'm not always quite sure you'll make it through the game.
It's true, because I've seen really, really extremely talented people not make it because they don't have a control on their numbers and they don't want to look at their budget. And even if you're going to hire that out, if you're in a position where you're able to hire out your finances, you still need to keep an eye on it. I mean, look at all the celebrities that go bankrupt and they didn't even know because like who's ever controlling their money wasn't doing it properly and they had no idea. So it's like you just knowing your budget and being on top of that, even if you're getting help, is so important.
Oh, and it's the key to success.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
You should know every little number that's sneaking out the door and where it's going.
Yep.
Keep track of it, and if you need to pull back, you do. So that's definitely one of the keys of becoming more professional and handling your business.
Yep. So the things that you can do, I know we're talking like long term and and people aren't quite there yet, because if you're a startup right now, just start a business account, track everything that you're spending for your business, and talk to people that can help you put together a long-term budget, because those aren't numbers that you know. But those are 3 things that you can do to come off as a professional. Fake it till you make it, but yes, know your numbers. The next point is marketing and social media, your brand.
Oh, this is so important.
Right.
You know what? Such a great way to get started in the game, because it's such sweat equity.
Right.
I mean, while you're spending all this money developing product, making samples, buying fabrics, getting the photo shoots together, et cetera, and spending all the money, you can do a lot of the marketing and branding on your own to get it set up and really get in touch with your market research. Who are you up against? What are they saying? What are they doing? Getting your Instagram and your Facebook together. Really building a profile that looks professional. It looks like you already have a business going on.
Yeah, and again, too, it's like just knowing what your brand is. Like if you have a personal account and let's say you're dropping the F-bombs everywhere, it's like, okay, well, that can be your brand. But if you don't want that to be your brand, then you've got to stop saying the F word. So it's just things like that of like, this is now a business and you will be attached to your business. Like obviously, my Instagram is Anna V.Mora, my personal Instagram, Anna V.Mora, and then I have V.Mora Consulting. And a lot of the things overlap, but when I'm posting on my personal page, I know I have a lot of clients that follow me, so I'm aware of that. I have chosen to be very open with who I am. I'll post things that are personal. That's me. That's my brand. That's fine. And some of my clients aren't. But what I post on V.Mora is more, it's more professional, but then in the same regards, it's a little bit drier. It's not as fun. Because it's more professional, so I actually have more followers on my personal page than I do on my V.Mora Consulting page.
Well, everyone likes to see what is it about?
Yeah.
Who are you? What's going on? What's your personal life? That's fun. You know, I tell my clients the same thing. I mean, if you're going to do a business, you want to make it look like business. You don't want like family kid birthday parties and relatives on there and pictures. That is great for your personal. But for your business, you want to keep it clean and straightforward, and people will see that, and that reflects the business. So do try and divide those two. So again, you appear like you're an awesome entrepreneur and that you're very professional and you're headed for it.
Yeah, and again, too, just sitting down. So if you're new and just starting out, what you can do here is just sit down and create a branding deck or some kind of mood board or something that you can go back to show what your brand is, like creating a brand identity. You can also hire somebody to do that. We do brand identities for you, but you can do it on your own as well, just creating something that shows your brand. It has images, it has colorways, all your fonts are going to be the same, just creating something that you can go back to so that everything that you post is quote on brand.
Oh yeah, we actually offer that too in a design consultation.
Great.
So we really go over that, like developing your product and designing that and setting up your brand at the same time, because really the two go hand in hand.
Yeah, and it's so important now with everything being sold direct to customer online. It's so important to have that brand identity like solid.
Oh yeah, and I always say once you create the brand, you can sell whatever within the brand, because that's the world where the product lives.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Perfect. And then the other thing we wanted to bring up was, the legal stuff, the legalities of having a business. We're not lawyers. I have to always start with, I am not a lawyer, but, just setting up, you need a tax ID number, you need the business account, you might want to be, if you're with trademarks, but setting up the legalities of actually having a company.
Yeah, which is actually not that hard, but there are some key elements that really, lay the foundation for what you're doing, and they're going to pop up again and again. So it's one of those things that you really do need to address. I don't always think, what's your take on patents?
Oh, yes. That could be a podcast in itself.
Oh, definitely.
But patents... Well, there's the design patent, and then there's the functionality patent, or what is the difference?
Well, it divides itself in so many ways.
Right.
It's really something, because we don't really get involved with it at ClutchMade. But I find that a lot of clients will tend to go to a patent attorney even just for their name.
Yeah.
Which I don't always agree that's a place you'd need to spend money coming out of the gate.
Yeah, they're really expensive. And the thing about patents are like, okay, so you spend thousands of dollars on a patent, and then Walmart steals your idea. And Walmart is a billion-dollar company that you're going to have a hard time, bringing to court to be able to, because then you've got to defend that patent. So it is really expensive. If you have come up and invented something very, very new, something functional, the functionality patent, I would say that's the only time where patents make sense. But as far as like a design patent or
even for your name or I would say just skip that one. I think it's more important to grab the URL, align the URL with all your platforms for social media, make sure everything's right up there, and be concerned with that.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to get a name that maybe somebody else already has. There's a way of tweaking things, even getting a little bit more creative with it.
Yep. Perfect. So that was our tips for today on what you can do to come off as a professional and an actual entrepreneur, not a wantrepreneur. But the number one is communication. Oh, I was going to add, don't be late.
Oh, that's a good one.
Don't be late.
And if you are, it's really important to text message or send a message, because when you have an appointment and you're not there, even if you're on the train now, you can send a text.
Yeah, so if you are going to be late, because things happen, people are late and appointments come up and things like that, but communication, again, communicating that. But if you're consistently late, then you want to look at that and figure out how you can correct that behavior, because people that are consistently late, I think, come off, people will get annoyed, but obviously things happen, but communication. So our number one is communication, and then number two is knowing your budget and understanding costs. Number three is putting together your brand and your social media message, and then number five is setting up the legalities of your business.
Yeah, that sounds great. And remember, communication equals consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, it's really important. And you don't ever know, maybe years later, that same person will come up. The industry that we work in is really small. So, you could have, if you have a bad interaction with someone, that could come later, in referrals, or maybe you need to work with them at a later date. But just treating everyone with that consideration of potentially this person, as long as you have a business, whether it's a competitor or a vendor, will be in your life for as long as you have that business, which might be forever. So
no, it's true. But you want to be forever, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully it's forever.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thanks for joining us again. You want to just share who you are, how to get in contact with you?
Oh, yeah. I love coming by here, too, and it's so fun.
Yeah,
it gives me a nice break in the day. I am Laura Dotolo. I'm the founder of the ClutchMade Factory. You can reach us at clutchmadefactory.com, clutchmade.com. You can fill out a little contact info there so we can get in touch with you. You can book a consult. You can book a free call for 15 minutes. We can talk to you about your product. We specialize in accessories, don't forget that, and anything outside the box.
Yeah, any weird products that people don't want to touch, which is great.
Yes.
And I'm on Livermore from V.Mora. You can contact us at V.Mora Consulting at Vmora.com. And we will see you next time.